My name's Harry Snag. I am the inventor of MaxiView mirrors, and today we're going to talk about jump starting your car. It's easy. You can do it yourself. First, let's talk about the bag that you carry the jumper cables in, and let's take a look at them down here on the ground. Now, you can use any kind of a bag, canvas bag, plastic bag. Why is a bag important? Because after you've used your jumper cables, there is acid residue on the tips of the cables. And when you keep those in your car, it could actually burn holes in your carpet. So you always keep it in a bag. The next thing you want to be sure of is that your cable is heavy duty enough to do the job. Believe it or not, most cables are not, and you have to be careful what you buy. For instance, you definitely don't want a cable that's as thick as a thin pen. These have been known to melt. I've had them melt on me, and they possibly could catch fire. You want something that this kind of a thickness, more heavy duty. These things transmit power much easier, do a much better job, and will not melt on you if there's some problem issue. Now we're going to talk about the cable ends. After you have mounted the cable to the good battery, you want to be sure and never touch your ends. Just that little bit of a touch can cause a spark and a fire. So you never touch the cable ends together. Now, what's the difference in the red and black? Well, red is positive, black is negative. Well, how do you remember that? It's pretty simple. Red is like hot salsa. Black is the ground, like the color of the pavement. Black. That's one easy way to remember. Now let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is connect the cables to the good battery. And the first thing you're going to connect is the positive cable. That's the red one. So we connect that to the positive on the battery. And you can see it's plainly marked positive, and usually they're red. So the red or the positive, and you got to be positive. You got to be sure about this. The next thing that you're going to install is the other end of the positive cable. And this is going to the positive on the dead battery. Now, you wiggle it a little bit. Make sure it's got a good bite. And then you do the same thing on the positive. You wiggle it, make sure you've got a good bite. Then, on the good battery, you're going to hook up your positive, your negative, your black cable to, and you're going to wiggle it a little bit so you make sure you got a good ground. Now, the other end of the positive, well, you might think that you're supposed to hook it to the other battery terminal, but you're not. If you hook it to the other battery terminal, you could cause some kind of damage to your alternator. So the best thing to do is hook it to something connected to the engine or the frame, or in this case, the body. The body is connected to the frame, which is a good ground. Now, it's very important that you do not have the two cars too close together. Well, let me take that back. It's very important that the cars are as close together as possible without touching. You definitely don't want them to touch. And this is a comfortable distance. You can walk in between here, and you have enough distance on the cable. Usually cables are very short, so you want the two cars as close as possible without touching. Now, we've got the cables connected. So the next thing to do is start the engine. Now before we start the bad battery, you have to start the engine of the good battery. And we're going to let this run for just a minute or so. That's all you need. Then we're going to get out and start the bad battery. Now we're in the car with the dead battery. It's been running for, or the good car's been running for, less than a minute. Now we're going to, the magic moment. Starts like a champ. Now you have to let this run for a minute or so before you disconnect the other battery. And you disconnect it in the exact reverse of the way you hooked it up. So let's do that now. Now to remove the batteries, you're going to remove them in the opposite way you took them off. So we start with the good battery and remove the hot or the positive, the red cable. Then you go over to the hot or the positive on the car that's dead, but now it's running. Then you go back over to the ground wire, the negative. That's the straight line. You disconnect that. And everything is disconnected. So it's important to put this back into your bag. You never want to put the cables into your car after you've used them, because believe it or not, there's enough acid on there to cause damage to your carpets. This is Harry Snag again, signing out. Just want to thank you for all the questions you've sent us. This is one of the answers to one of your questions. Send us more questions. Talk to you soon.